All right, so when discussing the bench press, the first thing we need to talk about is our positioning. And we're talking about our positioning, we got to discuss the 5 points of contact. First one is going to be our feet. That's going to be contingent upon whether we have a position where we're tucking under and we're driving from our toes, or we have a little bit less mobility in our thoracic spine and hips and need to do basically a bench press where we're driving our heels to the ground. Regardless, feet are the first point of contact we want to discuss. The next is going to be your ass, okay? So many times I see guys lift their ass off the bench and it's not allowing them to get any rebound out of the hole and stay tight so that you can get the most from that drive that you can get from your hips. So the other one is going to be your glutes. Keep your glutes tied down to the bench so that you can optimize the drive that you get from your hips from an optimal position. The next is going to be our scapula, our shoulder blades. Okay, so right here, what we want to do is retract and depress, and while doing that, enforce that thoracic extension that allows us to minimize the distance the bar has to travel by keeping that chest up. Not only that, but it will ultimately allow us to stay nice and tight surrounding our spine to make for a safer bench, as well as a more stable bench. And the last one, the next two are going to be your head. Real simple. Keep the head down. I don't want to see it lift up. The only person that's going to do that is a geared lifter in a bench shirt, and they're only doing that to make sure the bar is hitting their chest before they drive back up. And the last one is obviously going to be your hands. Your hands need to be on the bar at all times. In order to do that, follow me here. I want to make sure that they are in alignment. The bar is resting in the meat of my hands right here. So the bar, if it passed through my body, would literally pass through my forearm right into my elbow. So to give you an idea as to how this will look in real time, I tuck my feet when I bench, get a high arch, right there. Those are the points of contact that you need to keep in order to maximize the efficiency of the lift. All right, so the next thing we need to discuss with the bench is going to be your foot placement and your arch. When we're talking about foot placement, it really is a matter of preference, whether or not you want to dig your feet into the ground by driving your toes in and keeping them underneath your hips, or having them out here in front of you with the heels driven into the ground. What's most important isn't necessarily which one you do, it's that you get good hip drive from keeping your ass on the bench and keeping everything from your ass down nice and tight. If I went in your setup and was able to push you around, you're not tight enough. So what's important isn't necessarily your foot placement, it's that you keep your butt down and you keep everything nice and tight. The next thing we want to talk about is the arch itself. When we're talking about the arch, I'm talking about the ability to have that good thoracic extension, pushing that chest up, externally rotating your shoulders, pulling your elbows in, and when you do that, that's going to put you in a position to where your shoulder blades, your scapula, are digging into the bench, providing a solid platform for you to redirect force from what you can produce in your chest, shoulders, triceps, and even your back and core into the bar that you are lifting. So in order to get the most from that, be sure that you retract and depress your shoulder blades. All right, so pull back and pull down so that you make sure that your lats are included, stabilizing the weight, and will allow the primary movers inside the bench, the chest, the shoulders, and the triceps, to do their job exclusively. Not only will it help you recruit more muscle, but it's also going to shorten the distance that the bar has to travel, making it a far more efficient lift. Next, we want to talk about our grip on the bar. In regards to your grip on any exercise that you ever do inside this program or any other program, you want to make sure you're white knuckling that bitch. What I mean by that is you want to squeeze the bar as hard as possible. That's first and foremost. That will allow you to transmit more force into the bar, and is also a fantastic cue just to stay nice and tight. The tighter you are, the more compact you're going to be, and the more force you're going to be able to generate and retransmit into the bar itself during the lift. All right, so that's first and foremost. The next thing we want to talk about in regards to your grip is going to be the width of the grip, as well as how you want to hold it and where you want to hold it in your hand. All right, so let's lay down on the bench here. I'm not going to set up in my position. I'm just going to hold the bar where I want you to get it. So in regards to your width, I like to first set up my scapula, depress, retract, get in that good tight powerlifting wedge there. All right, so I'm nice and tight, my chest is up, and from here I like using the little rings on the bar as an indicator of where my center point is and where I'm going to be balanced from right to left. So I know I'm going to be in the proper position right around the middle finger of my when I'm gripping this bar. And from here, you'll notice that I have my wrist cocked, but it's not too flexed and it's not too extended. All right, what we're looking for is the bar to be able to pass immediately through our radius and ulna, our forearm, and that will allow us to stack our joints. You're gonna hear me talk about stacking joints all the time. That will put you in optimal power position. So from here, squeezing the bar nice and tight, getting that good powerlifter's wedge. You see, everything is nice and tight. The angle and the width is in a good position to minimize the distance that the bar has to travel, maximize the force I can generate into this bar, but also do so in a way that doesn't put me in any awkward position. All right, so after we have everything down, we understand the proper positioning, the next thing we have to do is obviously focus on staying tight, pre-tensing our body, pulling air into our belly, getting that good diaphragmatic breathing that allows us to have all that intra-abdominal pressure, and then obviously unrack and lift the weight. So I'm going to show you what it looks like in real time. First things first, I'm going to get in my proper position. Like I mentioned, what I do is I pull my feet under. I have a really high arch because I have really good hip mobility as well as thoracic mobility. All right, so I'm nice and tight and everything has a good firm base. I'm nice and strong here. The next thing I'm gonna do while maintaining that good lifter's wedge is I'm gonna pull air into my belly, hold it, unrack, reset my breath. Now, if you noticed, what I did was when I pulled the bar out of the rack, I didn't push up and out of that lifter's wedge. I didn't protract my shoulders and get my scapula off the bench. That's no good. That literally takes you out of your advantageous position that allows you to bench press efficiently. So what you want to do is ideally have a spotter in place to lift you off, but when doing so, think about pulling the bar. Pulling the bar over where your end point is going to be so that you can initiate it without lifting those scapula off, but also pulling so that you engage your lats. The lats are going to be important for stabilizing the weight and allowing the primary movers, your chest, your shoulders, and your triceps, to do their work that they're intended to do for the bench press. All right, so a couple other cues I want to give. Obviously, when doing the bench, keep tucked in, externally rotate those shoulders so that you engage your lats and you put your elbows in proper power position. All right, I don't want to see them out here. I want to see them nice and tucked in. All right, you don't have to turn into a close grip bench, but keep them tucked in and keep that chest up. Keep air into your belly, stay nice and tight. Everything surrounding your spine is nice and tight. And the same thing in your glutes. Keep those glutes down and get that good drive from the bottom of the bench. Just make sure when doing that, you're not just getting good glute activation during the concentric portion of the lift, but staying nice and tight during the eccentric as well. In regards to the eccentric portion of the lift, make sure you're going down in a controlled, not necessarily slow, but controlled range of motion and controlled rate. And once you hit, drive up and accelerate through the lift. Doing this will optimize the power output and give you a far more powerful contraction throughout the lift, which will help aid in more speed, explosiveness, power, and the ability with time under tension to develop more mass in your chest, your shoulders, your triceps, and believe it or not, even in your lats. Do that, I can guarantee you're gonna be happy with the bench press numbers and the size gains and gains in speed that you develop.